I've kind of, I guess, over my time having Parkinson's, become inadvertently, without meaning to, a bit of a patient advocate, because I guess I'm a bit mouthy sometimes, and I'm kind of willing to stand up and be a mouthpiece for other people. And so I think there's some things I've definitely learned about the way that people can interact with patients, and actually how they can kind of work with them to the best of their ability and for the success of projects. So I'd love to share those if that would be okay. Ultimately, it's knowing that medication is sort of a means to an end, really. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's the thing that allows people to have the life they want to live. And actually, it's part of, as I was saying before, part of a toolkit. So it's kind of knowing that it's just part of that. It's probably a very vital part. And if you stripped it out, the other things wouldn't work. But actually, it's something that can be regulated using technology. It's something that can be balanced using, if you don't sleep well, your medication potentially won't work. So it's kind of making sure all those things are in balance and equilibrium, and kind of being aware of that as you're kind of creating medication and things like that. It's finding in your organisation the people that believe in this, really, and kind of who will fly the flag for it. So patient centricity is a really big thing for me. It's really important that you kind of involve people at the right time and that voices are heard at the right moments. But who else in your organisation is feeling that and thinking that, and kind of who will champion it at a higher level? Because actually it takes a lot of involvement. It could take financial kind of input. It could involve all sorts of time restraints. But actually it's important. So who feels the same as you if you feel it's important too? It should never be a box-ticking exercise. And I think a lot of the time it is. I think it's kind of a case of, well, we've involved people, we've shared it with them, we've tested it with them, and actually, at what point have you tested it with them? If you kind of already come up with a decision and then tried it on someone or tested it at a later date, because actually there's only then so much input that person can have into that project. So actually, are you showing people at the early stages of a project what the ideas are? And kind of having clear moments when you test with people, when you test with humans, and kind of find out what's important in their lives. So, is it the beginning of a project? Is it kind of marker points throughout that project that you can test what you're doing with other people and sound it out and see whether actually what you've created is actually something that people need? Is it something that people can use? Is it actually worthwhile? Ask all the kind of stupid questions you think you can't ask, because actually, as a person with Parkinson's, I'd rather be asked than not asked, I think, a lot of the time. And I know probably different conditions are different, but as a group of people, we're quite inquisitive too. We like to know about our condition, we like to learn, and actually being treated as a person with a brain that actually kind of shares an equal pegging with someone else who wants to kind of learn from us. We will answer anything you want answered. I've been up on stages and people have asked me about dating and all sorts of things, and actually I will answer any question anyone ever asks me, because if it helps something, then I'm happy to answer it, however kind of personal it feels at the time. Don't always work with the people that hold their hands up, because actually you'll end up getting the same opinions again and again. So there's people like me who are loud and kind of force ourselves up into kind of being listened to, but actually try and reach out to maybe charities, kind of smaller organisations that have access to a wider group of people, and then talk to those people, because actually they're probably a greater idea of what the kind of general consensus on something would be than someone like me who's actually a patient advocate. Remember that everyone's super impatient. When we have conditions, we kind of want everything now, and actually be respectful of that, I think, and it's kind of understanding that any promises you will be believed and kind of held to account. So actually being fair with people and kind of realistic about what actually can be achieved, I think, is a really important thing. And actually looking at people as humans with conditions is quite interesting. I'm kind of doing some work next year around the fact that multiple conditions can be looked at for kind of their varying symptoms, but there's kind of things across life that people focus on. So, my friend and I both, she has MS and I have Parkinson's. We both have, both want to date. We both want to, maybe get married one day. We have kids. We want to live fulfilling lives and have jobs. We want to get into work successfully. So all those things are human problems rather than condition problems. So actually looking at how you can solve human problems across conditions is really important as well. And a point that I think was made earlier, which is actually remember that people talk, and actually if I kind of get a great experience with a pharma company or another company, then I will always share it with my peers. We talk. So actually It's really important to kind of leave a good impression with everyone that you speak to, try and kind of be an inclusive organisation, and actually that will kind of spread out, and actually any recommendations I get from friends will always be stronger than anything I get from the media or anything like that. Be clear. Medication is something that's incredibly important to me. Technology is something that's incredibly important to me, and technology has had to step up to help me, because with Parkinson's there's been no medication kind of inventions or anything in the last 50 or 60 years. So we're dealing with old medication and modern lives, which is very difficult to try and do the things that I want to do on really old medication. But ultimately, those things can all come together to make a toolkit that actually leaves me kind of feeling that I'm doing things that I love. Next year, I'm doing a thing called, okay, if you imagine bucket list, take the B off, put an F in the front of it. That's my project next year. So again, 365 days, because I'm an idiot, of doing new things. But actually, that will rely on medication, it will rely on transportation, it will rely on technology, it will rely on all sorts of things to kind of power me through that year. And I'm fascinated by this as just being an idea of all these things we need to kind of work together in balance to kind of get us through our lives. But I think you have a great opportunity doing what you do to actually involve people and to kind of make sure you're creating things that are right for people and are actually going to help them in their everyday lives. So sorry, I've gone very Parkinson's-y, can barely speak now, but hopefully I can talk to any of you properly if you have any questions. But thank you very much.